Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to episode 6 of Just Talking. And we are coming to you live from the living room. This week's episode is Meet the Mister. And we are introducing you to Jonathan. This is my mister. You guys see me post about him all the time and how much I absolutely love him. So he agreed to come on with me tonight so that we could tell our beautiful love story. So that being said, here we are, and I'm hoping that we aren't here all by ourselves experiencing technical difficulties. Anyway, last week I promised you guys that he would come on and we would share our beautiful story of love, how it happened, how it's going, how it used to be, and how we ended up here where we are. I want to give thanks to God for just bringing us through this long week. I am a little bit exhausted, but I am definitely here because I love all of you. I thank each and everybody who is coming on into the room. I thank you guys that shared, commented, any of those things, and I am happy to spend this time with you this evening. So this is Mr. Jonathan Nelson. Hey, Brittany. So we're going to share tonight. We're going to talk about our story, right? Because it is an absolutely beautiful love story. You guys see me posting my professions of love all the time, as does he. So we're here to talk about our story. And it's actually just ironic the way that our chairs are set up, right? Because I have my chair pushed up a little bit closer to the table, but I posted a picture a couple weeks ago where he was in the background, and I just want to say that he's always happy to let me shine. So it's no coincidence, I think, that this is the way that we are set up, but he's definitely going to be participative. But in this relationship, I am definitely the talker. He is much more quiet, but he's going to talk to you guys tonight and share his story as well, because he has a beautiful story of resilience as well. That being said, hello. So this is our second time around in a relationship, and we're going to talk about how it is that we got here. So 14 years ago, 15 actually, we were in a beautiful relationship where we got along well, didn't have any arguments. We had disagreements, but we definitely navigated those well, and they were far and few in between. But at that time, the only hindrance that we had in our relationship is that Jonathan was a criminal, right? Yeah. He was a criminal. And I'm not going to lie. Initially, when we got together, I was absolutely benefiting from his criminality. And I decided that I no longer wanted him to engage in that sort of activity because it definitely could not last forever. And oh, he looks sleepy. I didn't want him to engage in criminal activity anymore because I understood that it couldn't last forever. I think that he knew that too. But when he started his criminal life, it was out of necessity. And at some point, I believe that he became addicted to the lifestyle. So in the time that we were together, I was always working. Hey, cousin Brenda. I was always working. However, based on what he was doing criminal wise, he had the ability to provide things for me and my children that I absolutely didn't have the ability to do. And we were living very well from that illegal occupation. That being said, I went to him with a proposal. I said that I was willing to work double shifts, that I would take care of what I needed to take care of until he was able to become legitimately employed. I literally did not care where he was employed. I didn't care what it was that he did. But I didn't want him to be a criminal anymore because I really wanted us to thrive in a relationship and not have to be looking over our shoulders or constantly in the rearview mirror, worried about either the law the people who might try to come for him, robbing him, things like that. And so I asked him to allow me to take care of everything. And how come you didn't?
Because at that time I was in a situation where how I grew up, I was supposed to take care of the house. I mean, I left my mom's house when I was 12. So coming from there, taking care of my brothers and sisters and making sure my mom was good, I just thought that was kind of crazy, just being honest. Like, wow, are you serious? But in hindsight, I should have, but I didn't because I was still young. I still thought I knew everything. I still thought that that's what I was supposed to do as a man. And ultimately, it led to me going to prison.
And so he did. We had already had the conversation about his retiring from being a criminal. He decided to go on one more heist, and unbeknownst to us, they were actually already investigating him. So it wasn't actually that he went for that one particular incident, but it was the one that got him ultimately caught up. And he went on that one last heist and ultimately ended up in prison for 14 years. A part of the conversation that we had when I asked him to retire that lifestyle was that if he went to prison, I was not going to be there. I'd let him know that I was not going to write letters. I was not going to take phone calls. I wasn't visiting, anything of that nature. And for 14 years, you guys, I did not. However, he is my cousin's friend, and so he is very close with most of my family. And over the years, occasionally somebody would give me the update about how he was doing. They would tell me that he asked about me. He was sending letters to my cousins, to my auntie, and I would get the letters. I would read them and just kind of disregard. I maybe took one phone call up until the very end, at which time they told him that he was going to be released from prison. And at that time, I had moved back to Colorado. And this is all very recent because you've only been out like 2 months now?
Yeah.
So he got out 2 months ago, but prior to that, I moved back to Colorado from Texas. And so I was roommating with my cousin, who is one of his very best friends. And he would call and ask my cousin to speak to me. And being caught off guard occasionally, I would take the call. But at some point, I decided that no, I did not want to talk to him. I did not want to support him through whatever it was that he was going through. And I would tell my cousin to just tell him I wasn't around, or I would let him know that I was busy. So long story short, he got to a point where they told him that he was going to get out. And then they rescinded that and said that he wasn't getting out. And one of my cousins told me that he wasn't getting out and that he was feeling bad. And I said, you know what? Not my problem. I am not supporting him through that. I don't want to be here to be an emotional support. I'm not doing it. But I will let him tell you guys what that experience was like in reference to his getting out. Because in all honesty, I had a boyfriend, because you guys all remember just not that long ago, the debacle with the proposal and thought that I was getting married. So I had a boyfriend and he was aware of that. But I really believe that God probably let him out of prison specifically for me. He was like, go get your girlfriend, make her a wife before she walks herself into another trick bag with a different dude. But I'll let him tell you guys what that experience was like as far as his getting his hopes up about getting out and then kind of being let down.
Well, first off, to backtrack, when we first started the last relationship, you had told me from the beginning that you wasn't into waiting for dudes that's locked up. I accepted that because in my generation, if you a street cat, you accept everything that come with being that dude. So you accept that you might get killed, that you might get arrested. So when you threw that at me, it was like, all right, that's just something else that I have to accept. So I accepted that. So when I went to prison, I was never bitter with you because you'd already told me and I already accepted it. Now, fast forward to the beginning of this year, I mean, it sucked when they came and told me that I was coming home, and then I was supposed to come home on April 1st. On March 31st, they came and told me, we messed up on your time, and you're not going home. We're sorry to tell you that, but you have to do 8 more years. I mean, and at first it hurt, but I couldn't let that dictate my attitude because I already knew that it was a trick that they were trying to place me in. So I couldn't fall for it. I mean, I could have at first I wanted to, but I had to gather my thoughts, sit down, talk to God, and just let him know, like, hey, if this is what you want, then I'm just going to have to do this and finish all this if that's what's going on. Then a few months later, they came and was like, hey, you're going home. So, I mean, everything works out for the best.
So prior to his getting out, you guys, I did take a couple of phone calls. He wrote me a couple letters. I actually responded to one. And I took a couple of phone calls. And in those phone calls, he told me that I was going to be his wife. And I was like, absolutely not. I have a whole boyfriend. He asked me to marry him. And what did you say?
That's all right. I'll wait.
He said he was going to be patient, you guys. He totally disregarded the fact that I had a boyfriend. He did not care. He said that he was going to be patient, that he was going to pursue me. And I told him that he would get tired before I did. But he also let me know that even if I did decide to move forward without him and be in a different relationship, that if he got out here and he made things happen, that he would always make sure that I was good in reference to supporting my dream. So to give you guys a little bit more on the backstory, before he went to prison, because this is a very talented man, right? He was pursuing a career in music, actually had the opportunity to perform in a couple of different venues and was about to make some mixtapes with Snoop Dogg and MC8. So that was one of the things that got destroyed and fell apart because of his criminal career. He's a poet. He's a great masseuse. The world will never know that though. But he's talented in many, many areas. And that was one of the reasons that I was adamant that he stopped doing what he was doing with the illegal activity, because there were so many other things that he could pursue that would take him next level and that would be good for our family. And he didn't have to do what he was doing. And we could probably have lived on the same level, but all of those things fell apart. And when he went to prison, because again, I had been benefiting from the things that he was doing. When he went to prison, a lot of things fell apart because for the first time in my life, I had allowed myself to become totally financially dependent on someone. I wouldn't say totally financially dependent because I was still working, but I became dependent on him for certain things that he was doing. And so when he went to prison, a lot of things actually fell apart. That being said, in the last 14 or 15 years, I have had multiple failed relationships, and they failed for different reasons. Some of them was because of my partner's drug use. Some of them were just because they didn't match my hustle. Whatever the case may be, all of my relationships were failing. But I swear that in the now where we are, I understand that those relationships failed because he was made for me. He's younger than I am. He's only 2 years younger than I am. But in the relationship that we currently have, I believe that he was made after me so that he could be for me. And he is for me. He loves me beautifully. He makes sure that I understand that I'm loved. He treats me very, very well. And I have no complaints about the relationship that we're in. When he actually got out, I still had a hard heart for him. I was not giving him an opportunity because prior to his going to jail, he was the love of my life. I loved him dearly. We probably had the healthiest relationship that I had ever been in terms of the way that we functioned, the way that we got along. He was really good to my girls. They were young at the time. I think they were 4, 7, and 9 at that time. And he was really good with them as well. And earlier this week, I made a post about relinquishing what you think your type is. Okay. And I say that because the way that in which we came to be together the first time, he's not what I would have chosen in terms of what I thought that the man that I was going to spend my life with would look like, right? Because if you know me, my type is over 6 feet and dark chocolate. I'm talking about them brothers that you can't see in the dark. And he is, how tall are you?
5'9".
He's 5'9", so he is no 6 feet, and you can see that he is not dark chocolate. And also, I didn't choose him to date. Actually, it just was a result of the fact that when he would be hanging out with my cousin all of the time, and he would just do things that were really nice for me. I didn't have a car at one point, and I was having to catch the bus from Aurora all the way to the east side to take my kids to school. And he graciously offered one day that he said, I'll pick you up and I'll take the girls to school and I'll pick you up in the afternoon to make sure that they get back home. And he would do things like that were nice for me. And so eventually, because of the kinds of things that he would do for me, he started to grow on me. And that's how we ended up in a relationship the first time. But I say, relinquish the type that you have in your mind, because sometimes we have what we think we want in our mind, and it causes us to miss what it is that God has made for us. So coming back to the now, when he got ready to get released from prison, I had a hard heart for him. I was like, no, I don't want to be his girlfriend. I don't want to be his friend, because I don't want to give him the idea that we're going to be more than friend. In fact, I was going to start calling him cousin so that he would get the idea, because he, again, is my cousin's friend, and he's a part of my family, essentially, and they all know and love him. And so I knew that we would always see each other, probably at the different holiday functions and things like that. So I wanted him to know that, like, we can be friends, but I am not going to be with you. I made it very plain to him that I had no interest in dating him, that he would never have me, that he would get tired of chasing me before I got tired of running. So essentially what happened is the relationship that I was in fell apart. Things did not work out. That was calculated manipulation. I think that he probably got his hopes up in terms of, okay, she's not in a relationship now, she's available. I was like, no, you cannot have me. You can't just have me. You're going to have to work for me. And especially because his character was never in question. He was always good to me. We always had a good relationship, but I had never seen him have a job. I only knew him to be a career criminal. And I wanted him to understand that he would have to be gainfully employed. And initially I said, okay, be gainfully employed for 6 months and we can talk about it. He would write me poetry and send me these recordings with like these beautiful professions of love. And I was always thinking about how I was going to let him down gently, how I was going to let him know that he cannot have me. So one of the very last ones that he sent me, I shared it with my friend, one of my very best friends. I said, listen to this and you give me words of wisdom that I can use to let this man down. I'm trying to let him know that he can't have me. So I sent it to my friend. She listened to it. She called me back. And of course, she knew him from the previous relationship that we'd had. And she told me that that was my husband. She told me that that was the man that God had made for me. And at that point, it seemed like almost instantly, you guys, my heart began to soften to him. And I said, okay, I'll give him a chance. I'll give him an opportunity. And I gave him that opportunity, and I'm really glad I did, because I really almost missed my blessing. He loves me in places that I didn't even know I needed to be loved in. He is everything that I think I deserve for every horrific, traumatic thing that I've ever had to survive in this life. Um, Man, we wake up and the day is beautiful, right?
Exactly.
Every day. But I also think that 14 years of it being in prison, it was, I don't know if I can say that it was necessary, but I would definitely say that it was beneficial for the both of us. I think that he went in an immature man and he came out a really grown man. He is the example for what I hope that my children someday, the standard that they will set for the men in their lives. They have a good dad too, don't get me wrong. I want to give him that shout out. But I also think that he is everything that, as they see how he treats me in the relationship that we have, that he will set that standard for them. He takes care of my girls. My girls are grown, and he caters to them the same way that he does for me. And it is an amazingly beautiful relationship. But I want you to talk to them about what your experience of being gone for 14 years was like. And he swears, guys, that he was praying for me and that he thought about me every day. I don't know if I believe all that, but anyway.
I mean, it was just like anything else. I mean, coming straight from the streets when I first started my sentence was kind of crazy. I mean, because I was definitely not trying to do nothing that nobody told me, especially being a person that I am. So it took me 5 years to actually wake up and realize that I fell in love with a lie, but I made it my reality. So once I woke up and I realized that I have to change my life or ask God to change it because I can't change it myself, right? So that's what I end up having to do. So I just got my stuff together, woke up and was like, I'm done with all this mess. I'm about to get on my grown man stuff and just hit it hard. And that's what I did. I made sure that I got my mind right, that my beliefs came stronger in God because I believe in him with everything that I am. And I stayed prayed up. And that's what I did. Just prepare myself to get back on these streets, hit them running, make sure that I get a job. I like working, by the way. And just make sure that I was prepared for when I got out for you. Because I already knew, because I trust in God, I believe in everything that the Bible says, that you're my missing rib. And no matter how long it took for me to wait, I was going to wait you out, period.
And he's so serious in that, you guys. He said that he was going to wait, and my intention was to make him wait. My intention was to, and I wasn't trying to make him wait simply for the torture of it. I wanted to make him wait because I don't know if he really understood the detriment that he brought to my life by continuing in the behavior and the things that he was doing. Literally, when he went to prison, before he went to prison, when they were actually looking for him, I started to wonder if he killed somebody, because law enforcement was coming by my house every day, every other day. I mean, I couldn't even have company that was a man without them coming to my house and looking for him. And they were showing up with like guns and rifles that I had never seen before. I really started to wonder if they had killed someone. He also contributed to some of the trauma that I believe that was brought into my children's lives. I think I am fortunate in that they don't remember a lot of the way that things were happening when they were searching for him. But in that time frame, like, there were at least a couple of times where they came and they ran through my house looking for him. He wasn't there, but they thought that he was. They were coming, and that was trauma that was inflicted onto my children. And like I said, some things financially began to fall apart, because even though I was working and I continued to do so, there were things that he had been taking care of. I mean, essentially, he was paying all of the bills. I was really only doing a little extra stuff and doing the things that I wanted to do with my check. I didn't have to be responsible for paying a single solitary bill while he was around. And so when he went to prison, I had to regroup. I had to get some things back together. I went through what I think is a mild depression because I was stressed out. His story ended up in the newspaper. I was embarrassed about the fact that everybody knew that that was my boyfriend that had been written up in the newspaper. It was difficult for me to explain to my children where he had gone. I actually told them because he was, at the time, he was pursuing music. So I told my kids that he went to California to be a rapper, right? Because they were 9, 7, and 4. So at the time, that was a believable story. But the oldest only believed it for a short period of time because he had been a constant in their life and he was really good to them. And she came to me and she said, hold on, it says that someone wants to be in our video, so I will bring her on. Kelly, do you really want to be on? Because if you do, just say yes so that I can bring you on. um but my children, I had told them that that was the story I had given them about where he was. And about 2 or 3 months after he had been gone, the oldest came and she asked me, she said, Mom, where is Jonathan really at? Because if he was out there and he was being a rapper, he would take us with him. He would not leave us out here. And so at that point, I decided to go ahead and tell them the truth. Okay, so I have two people who want to join me, and I'm going to bring the first on. He connects. So I had to explain to my children where he was. And that was a difficult conversation. Hey, Shar.
Hi,
How are you?
honey. Yeah, I'm blessed. I can't complain. I'm good.
Yes, well,
How are you?
I am well. I love your smile and I am so sorry to hear about Georgie.
And it's a blessing. God does everything for a reason.
He does, and he makes absolutely no mistakes.
That's right. And I'm going to keep trusting him. Hello, mister. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Welcome
too.
home.
Thank you.
Bless you. I'm really happy for you guys. I like to see this kind. I like to see it. And I'm impressed. I like it.
Yes, and I appreciate it. I wanted to come on and share our story. One of the main things I wanted to share too is that sometimes as women, I want to make sure that just because a person has been to prison, obviously I had a relationship with him before, but just
Right.
because a person has gotten out of prison doesn't mean that we should immediately write them off. There are people who get out of prison and do very productive things with their life, and turn their lives around. And I think that, we do have to be responsible to give them time to show us that they have made those changes, but don't let a criminal history be the reason that you miss your blessing.
Amen. And that is well said. Just because we've been through some things don't mean that we're still in that same place. We have to grow up and mature and we have to learn from some of the lessons that we've been through, and that's how we keep proceeding in life.
Yes. So I'm excited and I wanted everybody to meet him and I wanted to tell that story, because we did go through some things. We had to fail, and he wasn't the only one failing because I had multiple relationships that I was choosing wrong. I was choosing from a
Mm-hmm.
broken place, from
Mm-hmm.
places where I still needed to be healed. I wasn't picking well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I also think that he really truly feels like the person that God created for me. And so I think that those relationships failed for that reason. But I'm glad that we can both be here, healed, grown, mature, and that we can have a healthy relationship. And like he said, he didn't even know he liked working because he had never really done it.
Amen. Amen. And that is so encouraging that he can just really speak his mind as a man, because we find a lot of times in relationships, men that haven't been through anything, they really can't express about this life. And sometimes it takes you to go through things to get to something. And that's what I'm learning in my life. We just have to keep pushing forward, and he'll keep opening doors.
Yes.
And that's all I can see is the good in everything we do. So when we grow, we always see the good in it, no matter what it looks like.
Amen. And
So,
I just think that, the more that you put God first, the more that he will place you in
amen.
positions that you didn't even really think that you could be in. And some of them you don't actually belong in, but because God has the ability to open doors that no man can close, when you are putting him first, he will take you where it is that you want to go. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that, um, I come on. Hopefully, people take things away from it. I'm glad for everybody that comes on every week because my goal is really
That's
just to
right.
love on people,
Mm-hmm.
especially during this holiday season, because I know this is going to be
That's
difficult
right.
for some people, especially with
Oh,
loved
yes.
ones. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm excited for that. And I really just wanted to, like I said, as women, for people to hear his story because there are men that sometimes they are really good men, but the moment that we hear I
That
have
they
been in
did.
prison for X amount of time, or I have these felonies, or whatever the case may be, we
Mm-hmm.
immediately write them off. And it's like, oh, no. But I want everybody listening to remember that, listen, God gives us grace to forgive us for many things
Amen.
and a lot of things that other people don't even ever see.
That's right.
So we have to be
And
willing
that's,
to
I know,
extend that grace to other people.
Hmm.
that's right. Because if he did it for you, he gonna do it for him. That's what I'm saying. Never take that place of anybody. He's gonna do it. He will do it. And I like how you said from failure to faith. And that is some awesome words to hear. I was like, oh, I like that. I like things that teaches me, encourages me, and gives me wisdom. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to, pound on people and tell who they need to be with and who they need to love, because God is going to make the choice for us, even when we don't think we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
So
But I'm glad that God knew that I deserved him because
that's
I
right.
was this close to missing my blessing because I said absolutely not because I did. I went through a depression when he went to prison because financially things
Hmm.
got hard. I
Right.
said I was embarrassed because it was all in the newspaper that what he had been doing and how long he was going for and all of those things. So I literally
Hmm.
went through a depression. I was like, I don't want to be nobody's mama. I called my kids' dads, come get y'all kids. I'm moving out of state. I don't want to be the mom
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And I want to say that I was really going through that, and people were talking to me like, "Do you really want to leave the kids?" I was like, "I'm out of here." And I just literally woke up one day and I was like, "I'm tripping." And that
Mm-hmm.
same day that I had that thought, my auntie called me and she was like, I don't know why you've been so heavy on my mind, but I've been praying for you. And so I just
Mm.
want to say that when God places it in your spirit, you guys, to pray for somebody, pray for
That's
them
right.
without ceasing, because I really truly believe that it was her prayers that
Got
got
you.
through
Got
because
you
people
through
have
it.
been coming over
Amen.
talking to me. I didn't want to hear what anybody said. I wasn't changing
That's
my
right.
mind based on anything. My aunt's friend came over and was like, hey, my mom left me when I was little. She was giving me the whole story about how that had affected her life, and I wasn't hearing none of that. But I just woke up one day and was just like, whoa, I'm tripping. What is this? And the same day, my auntie called me and she's like, I don't know why you've been on my mind, but I've been praying for you just every day. And I believe that
Mm-hmm.
it was those prayers that finally broke through and broke that spirit that
Mm-hmm.
had taken over me.
Amen. And that's what I could tell, because see, God doesn't bring you people because you want them. He brings you people that you deserve. And see, sometimes we have a misunderstanding that everybody that we meet is for us. And I've learned in this life in my 51 years that it doesn't work like that.
And don't she look
And see,
good, y'all, for 51 years?
hallelujah, God's grace, His mercy over my life. And, I'm going to continue to follow Him and keep growing and sharing my story. And I'm so glad that, we don't need a audience. We don't need a party. We don't need everybody's advice. All we need to know is that somebody's out there.
Right.
That is the purpose we serve, on not who and how many people is viewing us, because you know what? It completes us, it changes us, it gives us growth, and we can communicate, and maybe they can grow from what they see, because a lot of people don't like going live and expressing themselves and being truthful to people. You know, a lot of people are secret about their life, but you know, God says it's nothing about, it's just the truth, you know, and when you celebrate the truth, people celebrate you, you know, no
Yeah.
matter what you've been through.
And it was something for me that even as I started to go live, and that's why I think in the very first one, when God places something in your spirit, you guys just be obedient to what it is that He tells you to do. Because
Amen. Yes.
he gave it to me actually right as he was going to prison and all of these things were happening. God told me if I wanted to help people, I had to be transparent, and I was like,
That's right.
that is not my spirit.
Right.
I'm not doing it. But just
Right.
like Jonah in the Bible, when he told him to go to Nineveh, and Jonah was like, I don't want to go. When that well
Right.
followed him up, he spit him out right where God told
That's
him
right.
he needed to be. That being said,
Amen.
I said, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want to talk about the things that I've experienced. And I also didn't want to offend my family.
That's
So
right.
I was battling back and forth with, do I actually want to start doing these lives? And then when I decided I wanted to do it, I said, okay, well, I want it to look professional. I want it to be this way. And I remember that I was just praying and meditating on it. And you guys, just so y'all know, Shar, she has known me since before I was even born. Um,
Amen.
and so she knows the person that raised me. And I had a lot of concerns
Okay.
about the picture that would be painted of her. But I remember that a week before I went, 2 weeks before I went on my first live, I took a sabbatical. God put it in my spirit to turn off my phone. He told me to stay away from everything social media, don't talk to anybody,
Hmm.
and just kind of spend some time with him. In doing so, I actually, she came to me in my spirit and she said that it was okay. She said that she released me and gave me permission to talk about those
Yeah.
things because some of the way that I grew up was a result of her unhealed trauma. And she said that we
Hmm.
were going to
Hmm.
break these generational curses. And
That's right.
as my
Right.
daughter is now pregnant and she's bringing a child into the world, I feel like we are breaking those curses, and this child
That's
is
right.
not going to be plagued by the same trauma that I was and my mother was and
Hmm.
my great aunt
Our
that raised me
sisters,
was.
right. Yes, and that's the truth. And you know what I'm saying? And we got to be bigger, and that's what makes us grow. We can't just stay the same. Like you said, breaking all that off. No, I don't do that. You know,
Hmm.
and it's okay to say no, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying because, you know, I've been knowing you forever. You know, you're my sister in my
Hmm.
heart. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you, you know?
And God
But I
really
like to
just
see
gave
you
it to
grow.
me that I had to
Yes,
share my story as a woman because
that's
there
right.
are still so many children, especially that are suffering from things, but also just other women. I mean, when we talk about domestic violence, when we talk about being in a relationship with someone who was addicted to drugs and not realizing that
Hmm.
that was the case, we have information from our own traumas that we have
That's right.
grown and healed from that we can share with someone else. And I think it's also about helping people understand there's nothing to be ashamed about. That
That's right. Right. And
don't stay in a bad situation because you're ashamed to share. And sometimes it just
that's
takes us
right.
opening up. And so let me tell you, God gave me that in like 2005 that I would be transparent. And it took all the way up until 2021 to be obedient to what it is that He told me to do. But the moment that I chose obedience, I quit
Hmm.
sacrificing. And when they say
Hmm.
that obedience is better than sacrifice, that is true because as long as I was being disobedient to what it is that He placed in my spirit that I was going to do, I was
Hmm.
sacrificing. I was
So,
sacrificing in these bad relationships. I was
hmm.
placing my children in situations to be exposed to certain traumas because I
Hmm.
didn't want to do what God told me to do because
Hmm.
pain was teaching me things that my pride would not let me learn.
Amen. I can understand it too. I understand that story because I've been there. You know what I'm saying? Not only relationships destroy you, or not being in a relationship, or never not having a relationship can destroy somebody, you know, because I could testify I've been single for 9 years now and celibate, and I'm proud to say that, you know, I mean that means I'm in control of myself. You
Right.
know, in my days, it was always about making somebody happy instead of myself. And now I have the joy of learning myself.
And that is beautiful. So that is to encourage someone that, being alone doesn't mean that you're lonely. you guys.
That's right.
You can be by yourself and not be lonely. And God is always there. He's there at 2 in the morning. He's there to be a
That's right.
comfort and a support. And for me, I was just impatient. That's how I kept
Hmm.
ending up in a relationship trick bag, because I was impatient. I didn't want to wait for
That's
what
right.
God had for me. And I do also want to say that, people need to realize every relationship that a person is in doesn't mean that you're necessarily sleeping with those people, because a lot of times
That's
I
right.
wasn't. But
You
I
were
was
friends. Yeah, just friends. Yeah.
involving myself in those situations, and getting too wrapped up in other people's trauma, not
Hmm.
allowing myself to heal in the
To
places I
heal.
need to
That's
heal
right.
in. But when you
Hmm.
submit to God and you really truly allow Him to work in your life, and there are going to
That's
be
right.
some
You,
relationships that even they may not be romantic, it may be friends or family that you
yeah.
will have to sacrifice, because where God is trying to take you, everybody can't go.
That's right. I have friends right now. I have partners, people I'm worked with, but you know what? He didn't desire me to work with them to want me. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? He desired me to be around them and to grow. So we probably seen a lot of funniness and felt a lot of stuff, but that didn't mean we needed to be together. You know what I'm saying? God sends you tests, and those are your testimonies that, oh, I made it through this. I didn't let this guy get all wound up in my brain and I get all gullible. He lets you see the real thing, like, nope, step back from this. I've
Hmm.
been through my traumas too, where guys tested me and I thought, oh, yeah, this is it. And it turned out to be something that he crushed it for me because he said, it's not for you. And
Hmm.
he said, for me to move on, you know what I'm saying? And when you listen, you move on.
Right. So yes, I'm excited
I
to always.
wasn't trying to say it feels good, so I'm not going to listen. No, it felt good, but I'm going to listen
Right.
because I knew in my heart, he tells me it's wrong already.
Hmm. And the thing
And
is, when
sometimes you have to listen.
yeah, when you wait for what it is that God brings you, let me tell you, it's better than the stuff that you think that you're finding on your own. Because I was in
Amen.
some situations that, I thought, oh, this is great, this is the bomb, right? But
Right, right, right.
it was only superficially great, because there were always areas that, even though somebody was making me feel good in one way, there was always something else that I was sacrificing, like, oh well, he gives me money but he doesn't call me every day, or he calls me every
Right,
day but he can't help me financially. Like, there was always a
right.
but.
I understand totally. But I'm very happy, Michelle, you guys, that you guys keep being God first, and you guys will be okay.
Absolutely.
Everybody deserves to, be happy, and I'm still, waiting on mine, and I'm gonna be patient, and I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna stay humble, and I'm gonna keep being true to everybody and keep being me and encouraging everybody and just, still grow. Even out of me losing my best friend, I still have to live.
Yes.
It's probably be the hardest thing I do in my life, but it's got to be done.
Hmm. And God is a comforter.
He
He
is.
knows how to
That's
comfort
right.
us, and all he really wants from any of us is to make him our best friend, to make him listen. I had to, the same way that we date a man and we get out here, and when we're excited, we call him all the time. We want to hear his voice all the time. We give him our time. God is saying, do the same for me. You know, give me that time.
That's right.
Give me that time. Talk to me like
That's
I talk
right.
to that man. And sometimes I was guilty of not
Hmm.
doing that. Like, I found myself in these situations where I'm
Right.
chasing this relationship. I'm calling him and I'm making time for
Hmm.
him and we going on dates. And God is like, did
Hmm.
you
Right. Right.
okay? And sometimes in that time I
Right.
realized that I had this struggle with um even during the time where it's prayer time and meditation, like I'm rushing myself through that,
Hmm.
or rushing myself through
Right.
the
Right.
time that I'm trying to spend in reading the word and those things. And God is like, but when you want to talk to that man, you can sit up on the phone for 2 hours and not even flinch.
That's right. Yes.
And so God
So
is like, fall in love with him. And when you start to
that's right.
fall in love with him and you treat his relationship the same way that you do the people that we're with, because I think that what we suffer from is we want somebody tangible. We want somebody that
Come
we
on.
can see. But God is
Hmm.
asking you to have that faith and not being able to see him, but you can feel him. And if you give him the time
That's
that
right.
he is deserving of, the same way that we do when we're pursuing romantic situations, he will bring everything better to you than you thought that you wanted for yourself. God has better, like this man is better for me than I thought I had the ability to go out here and pick for myself.
Amen. And he's got, and see, I'm saying that's our job. He's not, he gonna do it. We always trying to do it. So you know what? I stopped trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I do spend a lot of time with God. I do spend a lot of time in my Bible. You know, I do spend a lot of time alone, but it's good for me. You know what I mean? And then it makes me focus on my family. It helps me get better with myself. I talk to myself. I read to myself. You know what I'm saying? I meditate. I mean, it makes me so fulfilled. You know, I do those things not to say I'm lonely.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I'm fulfilled, so I don't look for the loneliness. You know what I'm saying? Because I know He guides me, He shields me, and it makes me feel amazing. So I can go every morning. You know, I can get up and go because I know and no doubt that He's there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get up in sadness. I get up and I be overjoyed, you know, and that's where my all my energy and power and grace and everything comes from him. If I didn't have him, I can't do it.
Yes, and you guys can always, I'm telling you, I am always inspired because I see Shara's beautiful smile. She's always got a dancing video for us. Um, she's always got a word for us, and it's inspiring. And so I draw a lot of inspiration from all of those places. And um, I'm just grateful that I place myself in a position to put God first, because that is where I
Amen.
realized that the mistakes that I was making lied in the fact that I was putting Him behind everything else. I'm
Right.
busy. I have to work. Like, we make time to go to work. We'll work. I've worked two jobs, sometimes 20 hours
God,
a day.
who you telling? You've worked two and three jobs, Michelle. You have never stopped pushing. No matter what you've been through, no your childhood, nothing. You've always survived. But you know what? I give the grace and God to you because you a lot of time you was alone.
Mm-hmm.
You had people, but you know what I mean? You know when a child is lost. You know what I mean? And you kept pushing and kept striving and kept believing in yourself. And that's what he made you. When you start getting whole, I felt it. When you came over here in my apartment, you was like, yeah, I need to do some new things. I'm moving back. You know what I'm saying? And I trusted every word you said because you've never been a kid not to doubt you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people would doubt you. I mean, you work jobs that people wouldn't even work. I mean, you get the best job,
Mm-hmm.
not just a job, you get good jobs. God has been a blessing to you. And I said, I am so, that's why I always give you love because you're strong. You're stronger than you ever know because I watch you. I've seen you grow. I've seen your kids. I've seen everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you still came out on top. That is the purpose. You mean you're
Yeah.
surviving. And now you're just, you're here.
Yes. And one of the things that, like I said, there was a pastor, he taught me a long time ago. He said, God never does anything unnecessary. He never does anything without a purpose. And the things that
Amen.
he takes us through are for us to be purpose for what it is that he placed us here for. We are not here for ourselves. We're
That's
to do
right.
God's work. And
That's right.
if you walk in that, you'll always be exactly where you need to be. Um,
That's right.
God placed me in a situation where I went through a lot of things as a child. I didn't have a
Uh-huh.
career in child protective services, but that's
I
where he
know.
placed me. And I know that he placed me there. And all of the things that I went through were to prepare me for the things that he would take me through.
That's right.
That level of transparency that he told me I had to have, it was very difficult to get to. Even
I
I was
know.
doing the very first live, I was shaking and everything, but God said, if I bring you to it, I'm going to take you through it, and I'm
That's right.
you let me deal with how people receive things. But it's been beautiful.
That's right.
When God places something in your spirit, just be obedient. Just be
That's
obedient.
right.
It's better than sacrificing. So I can tell you all about sacrifice, and it's not worth it. But the things that God will reward you with for doing what it is that He told you to do, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I just like to tell you, you always have a good word. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you're going through, you always try to see the good in it. And that's how you know you're God's child, because you always see the good no matter how people come against you. And no weapon formed against you shall prosper.
No.
Amen.
So I'm glad that you came to join us. And Brittany said that you're
I'm glad too. And I'll be on
beautiful.
here for life forever. That's why I say anytime, I will come on and speak, and I'm gonna get my chance, I'm gonna get mine, because that's what we're here for.
Yes, yes.
Because
And this is all
have no fear.
it's all
And
about
I'm glad
empowerment.
you guys, huh?
It's all about empowerment. It's about lifting up another so that hopefully some of the young women and men that we know don't have to go through some of the same things that we did to get where we are.
And sometimes that's what it takes. You know what I'm saying? Because look at him, and look at you. So that's the amazing thing. So we can smile about that. He's created two beautiful hearts.
Yes.
And that's all we can, ask for. Everything that's done is done through him.
Yes,
Okay? So you guys is good no matter what people think or what they say, it's God's will.
it
So
is.
I'm gonna just always keep your blessings and always trust in God, and He's gonna see you through anything. So that's He's our provider, He's our shield, He's our everything. And
Yes,
as long as you trust Him, you're gonna win. And that's why I'm gonna keep winning.
absolutely. So I thank you for coming on and
All
joining
right,
us.
Mama.
We love you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mister.
You're welcome.
Bless
Thank
you.
you.
And it's nice meeting. And I'm sure I'm going to see you, because we're all about family. That's it. So, I'll see you soon. And God bless you
You
guys.
too.
Okay, love you. We'll see you later.
Bye bye.
Okay, y'all. So that was Miss Shar, and she was joining us live from the living room. Um, but is there anything that you want to say, babe? I told y'all when I came on, I am the talker, y'all.
What? Besides, I love you.
And he
No.
does. And he does. He loves me well. And I'm glad that we grew, that we matured. Again, I think that he needed that time. But I think that, the female viewers probably dominate the lives, but that's okay. I hope that the men begin to join us as well, because I think that there are things, and I want to share with everyone that, when he first got out of prison, one of the first questions I asked, and I wasn't being funny, but I wanted to know if there were any traumas that he had suffered from while he was in prison, because 14 years is a long time. And I knew that if he had, we needed to process those things. But fortunately, God kept him, and there wasn't much trauma involved other than the fact that he couldn't be with me, that he had to sacrifice being with the love of his life for 14 years. Um, that's me too, my own horn, y'all. But do you have anything that you want to say to the people, babe?
Just keep believing in God, and do not miss out on your blessings. Look around you, and I'm telling you, they're there. You just gotta pay attention to them.
And do you have anything to say to somebody who might be giving glory to their criminal activity or life right now?
Think about it. I'm telling you right now, it's way more problems than what you may think right now. Everything seems cool until you find yourself behind that wall. And then if you smart enough, or not even really just smart enough, if you men enough to realize that your life can't get no worse than where you at, period. Like, I would rather be on these streets homeless than been in prison. I mean, and that's crazy, but at least you still have your freedom. And people say that everybody should just respect their freedom, but it's not always like that. So all these little young cats out there, I mean, I need to think about what y'all doing, because I'm telling y'all right now, y'all is not the only ones that's affected by y'all decisions. Y'all affecting everybody in your family, everybody that loves you. Everybody's going to pay for the decision that you made to put yourself behind bars, period.
And honestly, I don't know if he fully understood the ramifications of the negativity that came out of his being locked up until we had that conversation once he came home. Uh, and the discussion that we had regarding the things that I went through when he was gone. So I think that, to a certain extent, when he first, probably all the way up until he got out, thought that, it was just his life that was taken by him being placed behind those bars. But when I really broke it down to him, the things that I had went through as a result of his being away when he initially went, because, life went on. It had to. But the things that I initially experienced, I don't know if he understood the severity of those things. I don't know if he understood how mentally traumatizing that was for me. Some of the things that my children experienced, just wondering where he was and why he wasn't there, because they had somebody that was a constant in their life, that was good to them, that loved on them, and suddenly he was no longer there. So I don't know if he fully understood that until he got out. But I thank God that he is everything that I didn't even know that I needed. He is everything that I wanted. He treats me beautifully, the way that a person should treat another human being. And he asks for me, he doesn't ask anything of me. The only thing that he asks of me is to love him in return. And I mean, I love him abundantly. I love him fully, because he is deserving of that. And he's happy if I'm happy. And it's a beautiful thing. And so I just encourage everybody that be patient, wait for God. I have been the most impatient person on the planet. And I have had many a failed relationship, but I think that all of those relationships failed because this is the one that God intended for me to be in for the rest of my life. And I am definitely happy with where I am. So I thank all of you, and I love you for coming on. And I hope that you share the content. There may be something that is helpful for somebody else to hear. So I pray that you share the content, and you'll be seeing more from us. Um, as time goes on, I'm here every Friday at 7 p.m. and we'll be discussing different things, but I'm sure that he will join us again in the future. And I'm glad that you guys had an opportunity to meet him. But most importantly, I really wanted you to hear his story, because there was a time that the two of us glorified the things that he was doing criminally. I woke up before he did in reference to no longer wanting that life. But it was something that we glorified. It was something that we were significantly benefiting from. And there was a lot of negativity that came out of it. I'm glad that on this end we have a beautiful story that we can tell you now. But I also wanted to share that story for somebody that's out there thinking that, a criminal life is where it's at. It may be good now, but let me tell you, the best of them go down, because he was the best at what he was doing. But he did go down, and it's just not worth it. So if you are out there, if you are a woman and you are in a situation with your man and you are benefiting from that situation, and encouraging him to go out and do those things that are criminal because of the lifestyle and the things that you want, that you can benefit financially from it, I'm telling you, it is absolutely not worth it. And literally, neither one of us has anything to show for the situation that we had going on previously. I mean, we were living high at that time, and I'm not saying that we out here struggling and broken those things, because we're working and taking care of business. But for the things that we had and the level that we were on, we don't have anything to show for it, except for time in prison, a bunch of failed relationships and situations, things that we had to both heal from, in areas in which we had to grow. I will say that in reference to the time that we spent apart, I think that I had areas that I needed to grow in as well, because for the man that he has always been, in reference to his character, I wasn't in a position where I was prepared to let him lead. I think that I understand that differently now. Um, Especially because, at that time, again, I'm only 2 years older than him. But in the previous relationship, I used to swear that 2 years was 10. And at that time, I felt way more mature than he was. But now I realize that, those 2 years are simply just 2 years. But he is very mature, and he is a beautiful leader. And I submit to him because he has that quality about him. But I think that that is something that I had to learn as well, because I have a dominant personality. Um, and I tend to, take the forefront. Now I'm in the front right now, but that's not because I'm leading. That's because he loves to let me shine. But he is definitely the leader in this household, and he has grown into that position. I don't think that he may have had that same capability back then, because just because he was the breadwinner financially didn't mean that he had the ability to lead us. But he's grown into that. I'm grateful. I am thankful. I absolutely love him. I love the life that we are building. I am excited for the things that God has in store for us. And just want you guys to know that, listen, God will open doors that no man can close if you are just obedient and you place him first. You don't have to go out here and do criminal things to get your money. It's not about living high. It's not about living good. Because God, if he's going to, it says in the Bible that if he will provide for even the birds, then what more will he do for us? So you don't have to place yourself in a position for the material things that you want. And if you're obedient to God and the things that he has purposed you for, he'll bring all of that to you and then some. So I think that we have a much more beautiful life now than we ever did before, because we are placing God first in this relationship. So those three chords are very existent with all of us. So we love you guys. I thank you so much for showing up. Again, if there is something that you were blessed by, share that in the comments. Please do share the content. There may be a message here for somebody else. And we love you, and we'll see you next week, or at least I will for sure. And I'm sure that occasionally he will make appearances. So,
I will.
all right. I hope that you guys enjoyed being with us this evening. I absolutely love each and every one of you, and you have a blessed weekend. Mwah.
It's a date night.